In Febuary might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
Hello, good morning. Beautiful Tuesday morning to you all. Now, welcome to National Discourse, another beautiful episode with me. I have someone in the studio. But before then, we are going to be looking at elections and the matters that have arisen over time, as we have, or we've started counting down to the election time. I am Uche Uduma, of course, still your host in National Discourse. We'll be going for a short break. And when we come back, I will introduce my guests to you who will do justice to the topic we have at hand. Please stay with us. Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa Yang Nakama. They are like Abiru in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Febuary might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
Hello, glad to have you back with me in the studio. Is Dr. Kenneth Okonkwo. I have him right here in the studio. He's going to do justice to what we have on ground. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
And welcome to National Discourse. So glad and we are pleased to have you back.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody at home.
All right, you're welcome. Now, we have elections and matters arising from there. And I know we're going to start with the CGN saga, right? Yes, it's still a matter that is ongoing. Of course, there was a court process yesterday in Atsuda's effect, and a lot of things have happened over time. And yes, I know you've written so many things, about it, your own take on it, but we've not had you on this platform to, talk to Nigerians what you feel about it. Now, the ongoing case against the CGN, what is your take on it? Let's start with that.
Well, like I said the other time, this case is sub judice. It's pending before a court, and it will not be good for me as a lawyer to go into the merits of the case.
Okay.
But we have to understand one fact.
Okay.
The case is before the Code of Conduct Bureau. There is one thing my learned colleagues fail to understand about the Code of Conduct Bureau. Section 2 of the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Act stated the objectives of the Code of Conduct Bureau. And he said that the aims and objectives of the Code of Conduct Bureau is to establish and maintain a high level of morality in the conduct of government business.
Okay.
And to ensure that the actions and behaviors of public officers conform to the highest standard on the line of public morality and accountability.
Okay.
So the aim and objective of Code of Conduct Bureau is not legalism, it's morality.
Okay.
And so whenever you want to gauge the actions of anybody vis-a-vis the breach of the Code of Conduct terms, or act, you are supposed to weigh it on the basis of morality, not on the basis of legality.
Legality, okay.
And that is why the Code of Conduct Tribunal does not have the power to send somebody to jail. It does not have the power to, issue any other order of penalty, except one, to vacate your office, two, to refund, or they will seize any property that you corruptly acquired. Then three, to bar you from public office for 10 years, depending on the gravity of the offense. So if you see all these punishments, they are tended towards punishing morality. Otherwise, somebody would have sent you to jail. They just want to weed out from the public system people whose conduct and actions do not conform to the highest, mark that word, is there in section 2, highest standard of public morality and accountability. Now, in the case of the CJN, you were alleged to have done something in breach of the Code of Conduct. And then you admitted.
Can we say that was a confessional statement?
That is what it is.
Okay.
And when you do that, that means you have admitted that you did not live up to the highest standard of public morality and accountability. If you forgot to be accountable to the number of assets you have, especially when it starts running in millions of dollars, I mean, being the highest law officer, for crying out loud, you shouldn't allow your name to be further degraded. You shouldn't allow yourself to be used as a pawn in the chess game of the politicians. You are the Chief Justice of the nation. You are supposed to be the moral compass of the nation. So if you have so admitted, before the next day, you ought to have resigned honorably. And this would have ended.
All right. Let me ask you a question before you continue. Now, peradventure, he resigned, like you're saying.
Yes.
Does it mean the case before the CCT is closed down?
There will be no...
Does it exonerate him of any penalty whatsoever?
Now, the penalty the CCT would have given him, I told you that.
Okay.
Would. One is to vacate the office. Good. So if you do it yourself, the proviso says it will no longer be necessary taking you to the Code of Conduct Tribunal. My fellow, my learned colleagues have interpreted that portion to mean that if you admit that you have done something, it will no longer be necessary to take you to CCT. That's section 3D, the proviso. I sincerely beg to disagree, because it is like saying you committed a crime in an open court and you made a confessional statement and that will exonerate you, or you will no longer be taken to court. No. The meaning of that interpretation is that if you admit, if you watch that proviso, he didn't say you should go and redeclare your asset. He didn't say you should go and remedy it. He said if you admit in your response that you breached the Code of Conduct, it will no longer be necessary for you to be taken to this Code of Conduct Tribunal. It means that if you admit and do the needful,
which is resignation,
or stepping aside, because as a dad you will no longer be a public officer, so it will no longer be necessary taking you to the CCT. But if you
but your action can be challenged in another court.
Your action of
the action the person have taken. Okay, for example,
yes.
We are talking about the CJN now.
Yes.
Now, peradventure, he took the bull by the horns, yes, and he resigned by himself.
Yes.
And now he wouldn't have been taken to CCT again.
Yes.
But could that be challenged in the court?
Challenged
in another court?
That is why he was not taken to the CCT.
No. That I mean the crime of not declaring his assets.
No, you see.
I think we have a first call. I don't know. Can we go ahead?
Okay. No, let's
lost it. Okay.
Now, what I want to let you know is that what amounts to a breach of Code of Conduct, terms, may not amount to a crime. Good. Non-declaration of assets may not amount to a crime if the prosecutor cannot prove that there are proceeds of corruption in it. I may as well not declare my asset genuinely gotten. I may forget. You can't take me to court and send me to jail. But it's a breach of the Code of Conduct Act and terms. But it might not amount to crime. So, but if there is anything there that amounts to crime, there is nothing that stops the prosecutor from also taking you to the court
Okay.
for the necessary penalty. And that's why I'm saying that if the CJN resign, those things will no longer be necessary.
Now, can the judgment of the CCT be challenged in another court, in a higher
Not
court?
No,
Is it
you
possible?
cannot challenge the judgment of a CCT in a court of coordinate jurisdiction.
Okay.
The provision of the Constitution is very clear. Appeals from the CCT lies to the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
It is settled.
Yeah.
So you cannot challenge.
You know the law.
Yeah.
I know the law.
Sure.
But we are talking to Nigerians, we're talking
Yes.
to people out there.
Yeah.
So they need to understand the steps.
Okay.
So that we won't be spreading either fake news or whatever
Good.
across the
The last time I was in this program, I said it is very unnatural to the legal norms I know for people to go to courts of coordinate jurisdiction to shop for orders, to stop another court from sitting. As a matter of fact, the Court of Appeal cannot even stop a lower court from sitting when there is no appeal from that
pending
court
before it.
to the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
So I was telling my learned colleagues that the real process of court is, if you want to challenge the jurisdiction of a court, it is in that court that you will go to raise preliminary objection, even if the prosecutor did not take this CJN to NJC. I said, even if the law is that it has to be taken to NJC first, it is still in CCT that you will go to challenge the jurisdiction of the CCT, saying that the condition precedent before the CJN will be arraigned in this CCT has not been fulfilled, and
Okay.
so the CCT does not have jurisdiction
To sit.
So the CCT will rule on whether it has jurisdiction. If it rules against you, then that is when you have the right to appeal. If you are sure that he ruled in error, then the Court of Appeal will now take up the issue of jurisdiction, because you can bring up the issue of jurisdiction at any time during trial, even in Supreme Court for the first time. And if the Court of Appeal say it does not have jurisdiction, that's the end. That's the court's, that's the procedure of court. And in
Now,
that thing, there is an abuse of court process.
Why do we have some lawyers going out reverse this norm?
Well, lawyers will always be lawyers.
Okay.
If the justice of your case demands that you use tactics and delays,
Okay.
and you're a lawyer that is not too interested in your moral standing in the society, or in your ability or in your love to ensure that it is the law that is interpreted, you can use tactics, you can use delays, to foist a fait accompli on the court. So
Okay.
it's the duty of the court to go beyond those tactics and issue necessary orders that will ensure that you don't delay the proceedings. So when it comes to the delay in courts, I do not hold the lawyers responsible. I hold the judges responsible, because the judge is the presider of the court, and any judge that knows his onions will not allow lawyers, no matter how highly placed, to use the legal gymnastics to delay justice and deny it eventually.
All right, Dr. Kenneth. Still on that, the matters arising from that, we saw Falana writing AGF yesterday, seeking for withdrawal of the case against the CJ, and I wanted to react on this.
Well, he has his own opinion. He has the right to write any letter. I know that in addition to the letter, he also advised that the CJN should resign. So what he was just trying to say is that the prosecutor should have followed the normal procedure, as in his own belief that maybe he would have gone to NJC first before going to CCT.
Didn't you think about this
If I
before
understood
he
it
started up?
Huh?
Didn't you think about this whole process before
Yes.
he started up? Now he's a well-respected lawyer.
Yes.
So
Yes.
long as Nigeria is concerned.
Yes.
Now, him coming to withdraw this matter, the question is, didn't he think about it
Yes, it's the AGF
before he started off? Yes.
the AGF he wrote to.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That it's just an advice. Like I said before, if you don't like what the AGF did, you go to court and challenge it. For me, any other thing, it's about using maybe political means or non-legal means to resolve issues. I think in Falana's own opinion, if this case is withdrawn and CJN resigns, that settles it. He's trying to save the judiciary from being a subject of mockery.
All right, now there was one interesting thing.
That's my own take on what he's saying.
There was one interesting thing that happened on the day that the NJC, conveyed lawyers, said they were going to have a meeting, and there was this word that came out on the social media that they allegedly said nobody should go to court. No lawyer should go to court, and we saw lawyers.
You're talking about
going
MBA
to court.
or NJC?
MBA, MBA.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Good.
And then we saw some lawyers going to court. Even it was reported on the news and all over. Now, does this speak well about lawyers? Does it speak well about the unity of lawyers? Or we are saying there are some lawyers that know the right thing to do, and there are some lawyers that don't know the right thing to do? Because most of them were interviewed on the spot, and they were just making a lot of comment. While some say it's not MBA that foots my bill, I just have to go and hustle and the rest of the thing. Now, what is your reaction to all of that?
That is why I was of the opinion that the CJN would have left the next day to avoid throwing the judiciary into this kind of confusion. Lawyers are ministers in the temple of justice. Their opinions matter. The mere fact that they are confused as to what to do, the mere fact that there is no unanimity as to what to do, the mere fact that some lawyers, majority, did not go with MBA, tells you that this is a divisive issue. It tells you that people are divided on it, and it tells you why the judiciary should be saved from such divisions, which will weaken us. I remember I said the other time that nobody gives you your independence. You take it. And if you're divided against yourself, you won't even be able to assert your independence vis-a-vis the other arms of government.
Now, is the judiciary truly independent? Now, that is what is spelled out in the Constitution.
Good.
Now, practically,
yes,
is the judiciary truly independent?
Yes, because that's what the law says. So if you are not able to take what the law says, you don't blame anybody. And that is why anytime you are operating from a weak moral standpoint, you find it difficult to take your rights by the law. Like if the CJN, for instance, had nothing at all against him, he has not admitted to anything, who are you to touch him? Recall that the president's order of suspension was based on order of the court. That was why I said, sir, save us from all these issues. The president said, based on the order he received from CCT, you and I know that legally speaking, if you take away morality, you are bound to obey the order of a court, whether good or bad, until it is voided on appeal.
Okay.
So if the president comes out and say, I was just obeying the order of a court, will you fault him? So we have to be spared from all these. If he says, the CCT and the order was there, and the Court of Appeal is now saying, go back and face your trial at the CCT. That was the decision of the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying that such things throw the judiciary into confusion. Recall that when President Obasanjo wrote to President Buhari the first letter, he said that one governor from the South has boasted that he had the Supreme Court in his pocket from PDP. He said so. And that was why he said that PDP is a write-off. So, if a man says that a governor says he has the Supreme Court in his pocket, and you are the CJN, and there are these issues now bothering for which you have accepted, it makes a lot of people to continue to be thinking whether you are not going to be used by some party or this and that, which you should not allow your name, which you have made over the years, to be soiled by all those politicians.
Let's pick this call. We've rejected so many. Hello? Okay, we lost it. All right. Another matter arising from this is the Senate withdrawing an organ case from Supreme Court. So you quickly react to that so that we can go over to another matter.
Oh, well, the Senate is a different arm of the government. I wonder how they will want to approbate and reprobate.
At the same time.
Yes. I wonder how they would say that every arm should be respected and the other arm should not interfere in what they are doing. And now they are raising resolution to interfere in the course of the judiciary, another arm of government. Is it not laughable?
Are you saying
yes,
they don't have the right at the first place
yes,
to have interfered?
No, you cannot.
Do we really call that interference?
Yes. What do you call it? Now, the Senate as a body is like any other human being in Nigeria. They're entitled to freedom of speech.
Sure.
Good. So the Senate can sit, for instance, and raise a resolution saying the government should not interfere. They've just spoken their mind. Not that they are interfering in the act of any other arm. That's a resolution that they can do. But trying to make it as if you are trying to raise the law, this or that, that this must be done. No, you don't have such powers. You only have the power to make law for the good government, peace and order of the nation, and to oversight the governmental institution to ensure that they are complying with your order. This is the basic function of the legislature. We don't have the right to interfere in a judicial process. We should allow the judiciary to interfere, then somersault correct itself through the legitimate court process, but they don't have the right to interfere in another arm of government.
All right, let's move on. There are some regional socio-cultural organizations, which includes Afenifere, Ohaneze Ndigbo, Northern Elders Forum, Pan Niger Delta Forum, Middle Belt Forum. They have endorsed the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, for the presidency. Now we saw this on the news, and it's very important. Very pertinent. You touch on this and knowing the angle you're coming from. So I wanted to react to this.
Well,
and most striking is the Ohaneze Ndigbo.
Good. Now these endorsements, at times they make me to laugh. First of all, maybe on a lighter mode. Majority of the leaders from these groups you've just mentioned, they are in 90-something years. I know of Ayo Debanjo, 90-something years. I know of J.B. Clark, 90-something years. I know of Ango Abdullahi, almost that age. I know of Tanko Yakasaya, 90-something years. There's something I want to say about such class, and I'm sorry to say this. Professor Wole Soyinka said his generation was a wasted generation. And they said anybody that was 20 years at independence in Nigeria contributed to the wasting of Nigeria. I want to put that.
Go ahead and have the platform to speak.
If at the age of 90-something, they are still interested in endorsing people, what would they want their grandchildren to be doing? Because their grandchildren will be in 30-something, which are the age where some countries are being governed now.
Now,
as president.
Speaking about that,
yes.
does it not strike you
yes.
what you're saying?
Yes.
Can we have a sharp contrast with the age of Mr. President?
Let me land.
Okay.
Now, because we're talking about endorsement. Now, these men have confessed, and I heard it clearly from J.P. Clark, that he has gotten his own boarding pass, waiting on the waiting lounge to depart. That means that any party these men are ferociously trying to endorse and the candidate is on the waiting lounge, waiting to take a one-way traffic into oblivion and not to come back, because there is no basis whatsoever
for the endorsement.
Yes.
That's the opinion.
One, they are not supposed to be involved in partisan politics. These are social cultural organizations which aim and objective is to protect the interests of their people, especially their cultural heritage. They should understand that every ethnic group, every section of the society has different sectors of people within them that belong to the different parties. How would you be protecting the interest of all your people in different parties at the same time? What you should be talking about is if you are Ohaneze, for instance, you should be telling the Igbos, do not allow elections to bring divisions among you. You should understand that this is politics. When you play politics with your brother, it should not be a do or die. People should respect each other's opinion. Go and exercise your own opinion peacefully and don't quarrel with your brother. That is how you protect the interest of your people. They are set up for the unity of their people, not for the division of their people. To protect the cultural heritage of their people, not for partisan politics. Recall that in the First Republic, traditional rulers were not barred from participating in politics. But when the nation saw that it brings division amongst their people, they now made it a law. If you're a traditional ruler, you cannot be in partisan politics.
But they are not traditional rulers.
It is quasi-traditional, social, cultural.
Now, since you don't have
such laws, it is not
laws,
political. And let me tell you the danger. I want to take you back to history.
No, I'm here.
Afenifere has not recovered from people who try to politicize Afenifere and Afeniferize the politics of Southwest. In 1999, Afenifere was instrumental to whoever became anything in Yoruba land, 100%. The 6 governors were Afenifere. The presidential candidate then, Olufalaye, had the sympathy of the Afenifere better than Bola Ige. Immediately after the election, Bola Ige started waging the war that Afenifere should be delivered from politics and politics from Afenifere. By 2003, what happened? The 5 governors that were loyal to Afenifere failed their elections. Bola Tinubu, that was not loyal to Afenifere, that broke ranks with them, was the only one in Lagos that won. Till today, Afenifere has no more power, and I'm talking about 100% power in the political affairs of Southwest.
Does that make them not eligible to speak or to endorse?
No, that's what I'm saying, that the purported endorsement by Afenifere of Atiku is the individual opinions of those leaders you saw, not the Afenifere in general. That's why you hear discordant tones in that endorsement. And let me come to Ohaneze. Is it not funny that the Secretary General of Ohaneze, I think his name is Uche Okuku, has come out openly, the Secretary General, who is next to the President General, to say that Ohaneze did not endorse Atiku, that there was no communique, and he challenged anybody to bring any communique signed by the officers of Ohaneze. He's a signatory to any communique, being the secretary. He said that the President General, Nnyangwodo, did not even allow the meeting to be taken at the time it was supposed to be taken. Now, in Igbo land, Ohaneze means the people and the kings. That is what Oha and Eze means. That's Ohaneze. In Igbo land, you and I know that you don't shave a man's head in his absence. How many kings were there at the meeting of the endorsement? We have traditional rulers. We have religious leaders. We have the political leaders. How many of the leaders were there at the endorsement?
Were you saying there was no proper forum?
There was none at all. That was an endorsement by Nnyangwodo, not Ohaneze. Which Ohaneze? I said, I'm quoting the Secretary General. So when you hear those purported endorsements, permit me to opine that is the individual opinions of those men you saw there, not the socio-cultural group. Now, I've heard from Pandef, some members. I've heard from Nef, some members. I've heard from Ohaneze, some members. I've heard from Afenifere, some members, that they are not part of that.
Now, can you agree with me that most times when you have a group of people, now everybody must not be in agreement of a particular thing? Because you still have conflict of interest in amongst them.
Exactly. That is why socio-cultural organization should not be partisanly involved in politics.
But we have not seen any law, barring them from doing that.
No, it is not a law. It is just an association by the people to protect the interests of their people.
No. I understand what they stand for.
Yes.
I'm saying
that's why I cannot say
anybody waking up to say,
you're entitled to your own opinion.
Good.
You heard me when I said that it is the individual opinions of those individual members you saw on TV, not the Ohaneze, not the Afenifere, and they are entitled to their own opinion, but they should not use the names of those organizations whose aim and objective is to protect the unity and the cultural heritage of their people. They should not use such names to cause divisions,
Okay.
cause hatred among their people.
Can I ask you this question?
Yes.
Now, if these groups, we are to have endorsed Mr. President right now,
Yeah.
will your reaction be the same thing? Would you react the same way you're reacting?
As long as it is to be partisanly political, I would still say what I'm saying, that is the individual opinions
Dr.
of
Kenneth.
such people
Good.
that are involved, and they are entitled to it.
Good.
But if there is a unanimity, if you checked the meeting they had in Ibadan, where the whole Yoruba people endorsed President Muhammadu Buhari, you saw their leaders, political and otherwise. You saw their traditional, institution. You saw that it was a pan-Yoruba
All right.
endorsement.
Let me give you the first call. I hope it goes through. Hello. Yeah, good morning to you.
Good morning, madam.
Please, your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Isaac. I'm calling from Plateau State Justice.
Okay, please go ahead.
Your case is not answering your question. You asked that if this endorsement is for APC, it's not answering this question. And if these elders are a bunch of fools, or which word you use, that the elders, they are elders. Mr. President and Vice President, they are of age, so they are same thing with the elder that is talking about their age or complaining about their age. So if this endorsement is for APC, let them answer this one first.
All right, thank you very much for calling. He's still here in the studio and he will do justice to that question. Now, going back to my question, you heard what he said?
Yeah, maybe
he said you didn't answer some questions.
Maybe he didn't
Thank
hear.
you very much.
Maybe he didn't hear when I answered it.
Yeah, he
Because
said
I will still say it is the opinions of those individuals that are there, and they are entitled to it. And that's what I said. And I'll still maintain that sociocultural organizations should not be partisanly involved in politics, because it will bring divisions to their people. But I will maintain that it is the opinion of those people that are involved, and they are entitled to it.
So, a yes or no, if it were to be APC that these people endorsed, you would have reacted the same way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's their
Now,
opinion.
there is another thing he raised there, and I think I asked that question, but I think it was overtaken. Now, in your opening statement, talking about the ages of the members of the group, the makeup of those different groups, you talked about their ages and their age range, 90 and above or whatever. And I remember, I remember I asked you a question. Their ages and Mr. President age, and of course I think Atiku Abubakar is still in line, almost on the same age. Can we have a sharp contrast? What's the difference between them and Mr. President?
Now, about the 90-something years old.
Yes.
A 90-something years old person can father somebody in the 70s.
Okay.
Because he's 20-something years older. You don't understand.
Okay.
So it's a different world. So if President Muhammad Buhari and Atiku sees JP Clark, they are free to call him father. And that's why I said I'm bothered.
Considering Mr. President's age right now.
Now, in Mr. President's age, recall that in 2011, Mr. President came out openly to say he's retiring from politics in tears and that he wasn't going to contest again.
Okay.
It's on record.
Very interesting. What really happened?
In 2015, Nigerians went to him and said Nigeria is about to collapse.
Okay.
We need a man like you to even save us first and foremost from security challenges, first and foremost from intractable corruption that is going on.
Very, very interesting.
Yes. And then the third reason, which is the economy.
Okay.
Because our common patrimony was being freighted.
And of course corruption, you're missing that point.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I said corruption was, becoming intractable.
Security.
Yes.
And economy.
Security, everywhere. And he answered that divine call.
Okay.
And came back. And you could see, he's a man that won't give you money. Everything was done by Nigerians, for Nigerians, and of Nigerians.
All right, now
so now he came back to power. And look at this president. He knows that there is a need to combine the youths with the aged. And he knows that even our constitution was an obstacle to anybody who is not of age. Do you know that before President Muhammadu Buhari came in, If you're not above 50, you can't be president of Nigeria. Now, President Muhammad Buhari changed it and signed. What I mean is, as in his regime, encouraged the amendment and signed the not too young to run bill, because he is seeing a situation whereby he would want to bequeath to the younger generation, and he said it openly.
Please hold on.
Yeah.
Now, after signing, most times in Nigeria we have a lot of laws.
Yes.
But the implementation of such laws becomes a very big challenge.
Yes.
Now, after signing such law or such bills into laws,
Okay.
now why would it still come up to contest for this election? Why didn't he leave it for the youth?
No. Politics is...
Let me take this call.
Yes.
Hello? Please, your name and where you're calling from, please. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I can't hear you. Yes, I can hear you now. What did you say?
Not wrong by Mr. President.
Okay.
Because Mr. President, but let's sign another one to contest.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What did he say?
Yeah. Now, what he said is, if Mr. President signed not too young to run,
Yes.
that why don't he sign a bill too old to contest? I mean,
Good.
and even not because he called, a lot of people spoke about this when
Yes.
the bill came up. But before you react to this, I will still go back to the question I asked you.
Okay.
I said, after signing the not too young to run bill into law,
Yes.
what prompts him, or what is the driving force behind him coming out to contest again?
Yes.
When you have just signed a bill into law, why didn't he allow the younger generations to contest?
Very good. You could see that his form was obtained for him. You could see that the people are yearning for him to continue. You could see that he did not stop any young person from contesting. 91 political parties. More than half of these political parties, young people are contesting. And so that is what the president has done for Nigeria.
Now,
Before now,
okay.
most of them would not be eligible to contest. And they are contesting. He's not stopping anybody.
Yeah, I know.
So what bill are you saying?
He's not stopping anybody, and
Good.
he has never stopped anybody,
Good.
right?
And he made it clear that, look, because there are certain foundations he needed to build, he told the not too young to run bill that he is going to support one of them, as in whether jocularly or something, in 2023. I told them to be patient. That in 2023, I will be part of you in this.
Do you think he should have signed that bill immediately when he knows he's not ready to let go? And then talking about not letting go.
But then he signed it before the next election.
No,
Other crafty politicians would have waited till after the election. He signed it before the election, giving you the freedom to run to become president.
Please, you have another call.
Right.
Hello, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Please, your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Jos. My name is Benjuma Ali.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to comment on what the discussion of the day.
All right.
I want to say the government of the present administration have failed Nigerians. It's time for them to leave back their road and go. All the lies I've never seen in my life, I've never seen such a government that is full of lies and hypocrisy.
Hello.
Yeah.
We don't allow such comments on our platforms. You can actually make your comment point and clear without being directed.
I'm telling you what I feel about
Yeah, we are saying we don't allow such use of words. So you can still make your point very clear, and he will react to it.
All right. What I'm saying is we are tired of the present government. People are in suffering. People are suffering.
Okay.
When you check, people are suffering. All the lives, we are tired of those lives. Let them back their loads and go. And we assure them that we're going to vote them out very soon.
I hope as you're talking you have your PVC.
My PVC is ready intact.
All right, thank you very much, and I do wish you a safe stay in Jos.
Thank you, man.
Thanks. Okay.
Right.
Can you react to this?
No, sure. As a matter of fact, I was actually thinking he was talking about PDP when he mentioned lies. Because
how would he be talking about PDP? He's talking about the government of the day.
Yeah, because the whole lies that I understand that have been spoken, the whole fake news, is one-sided. And I'll give you examples. These are facts. Can you imagine a whole party telling the whole world that the person governing them is Jibril from Sudan? Is that not fun? They even tell lies that are just so funny and ridiculous. Now, President Obasanjo said that the presidential candidate of PDP is a man that is incapable of telling the truth at all times. Is there in my watch? Let us see what happened after he had become presidential candidate. He was invited for a National Peace Committee meeting, and he did not go. And what was his reason? He said he was not served. It took Bishop Kuka to come out publicly to present evidence that he was served before they became ashamed. I remember the vice presidential candidate of PDP from nowhere. He said that the accounts were frozen, and the FCC said, on what basis? If you don't want to bring money for your campaign because you know you have lost, why are you telling such lies? I remember the Senate president of PDP when he came out to say that the police never served Jido Melaye they never served anything to the clerk of the National Assembly about Gino Melaye before arresting him. I remember the clerk of National Assembly bringing out the police bringing out a receipt copy of what they were served. Lies. The PDP as a party, you've seen, I've told you about the Jibril case, where all of them unanimously endorsing a lie just to achieve political purposes.
The last caller did not speak about PDP.
No, he said government.
He's talking about government.
Yes,
in power.
you have,
I wanted
you
to
have
react
state government
based on his.
That's what I'm saying. That's
okay.
why I said I wanted to hear about the party he was talking about. So because from when he talk about lies,
what party is? What party?
He did not mention any lie
government?
that the government of APC has said. He did not mention any lie.
But he did mention that Nigerians are suffering.
Nigerians have been suffering from 1999. It was the suffering of Nigeria after 16 years of destructive leadership, of the low-cost leadership of PDP, that fomented the birth of terrorism in Nigeria. What we have never witnessed on earth. Nigerians now willing to die instead of being alive.
Now,
it started in 2009 within the heat of the PDP administration in the Northeast.
Now, and you said...
And they had a Northeast son who was vice president for 8 years. Before then...
Calm down. You said, Mr. President, the current president was actually beckoned on by Nigerians to come and save Nigeria.
Yes.
Now, if that was the situation of Nigeria then, as you're recalling, why are we still in the state according to the caller?
Good.
Hold on. I think you have another call, so you can reply all
at
the same time.
Proceed.
Hello, good morning to you. Hello? Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Please, your name?
Ma'am, I'm calling from Justin.
Oh, same you.
Your guest, excuse me, ma'am. Your guest, the way your guest is saying something. When we are talking about government of line, we are talking about government of Buhari. Yes, and they are the alpha and the omega of line in Nigeria. Minister of Information line, Minister of Sport line, and everywhere.
No, let him tell me the lines.
Wow, I think we've lost him.
Okay, like I said,
okay, go ahead. Hello?
Hello, ma'am. Do you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
I know we are talking about government of line. Tell your guests that about this government of line. They are the alpha and omega of line. Even international organizations know they are about line. Economics is going down. They are supporting it. That is right. The report from international organization is right. Anything that says it's bad about this government is right.
Please, can you mention? Let him to mention one.
No, it's not. It's not necessary. Okay. He's heard you. He's going to respond to that immediately.
Right.
So, excuse me. When you are discussing something, let's discuss about the issue on ground.
What issue exactly are you talking about? Can you just be
economic?
Okay. What's wrong with the economy? Oh, we lost him.
All right.
I think he's just reiterating the same thing the second to the last caller
That's
said.
what I'm saying. I want people to interrogate issues on facts, not on fiction.
He's a caller. There's no how he can start giving you those points.
No, let him, because
the point they are raising is
in law. you do not make a evasive.
Yes, I understand.
Right. It has to be specific. It has to be positive. It has to be definite. Then you can now take it on that.
Now,
like I'm giving you specific facts which are verifiable.
Because you have the opportunity to give that fact.
Good. To show that, no, with you, if I'm to call, I'll present the facts to them and allow the person to respond. I can't come and say, this person is a thief. Let the person respond. I can't begin to agree that somebody is a thief. Do you know why I'm a follower of President Muhammad Buhari? Because he is strictly honest.
Okay.
Let me tell you, some of his honesty has kept even the party at times, in a very uncomfortable situation. When some people went to court to challenge certain things about the party, he said people should be allowed to go to court. I don't know whether he heard it.
Yeah.
In everything he has done, you could see honesty being consistent.
All right. Now, we are still going back to this because it's very important.
So I would want anybody to tell me one lie that he has intentionally told, and I will interrogate it on that.
Why do you use the word intentional?
Yeah.
Are you saying that some things he says unintentionally?
No. When somebody asked me, what is it that embarrasses you most? I replied, because I'm somebody that wants to say the truth at all times. I say, when I act innocently on another person's lie. Now, we are not omniscient. If I want to know things about medicine, I will ask doctors. A doctor that wants to mislead me will tell me what is not right. And that's what I'm going to tell the world. Sincerely thinking that it is right. That is why in law, you have to prove intention before a criminal act. All
right, we'll go for a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue with this discussion. Still dealing with the economy, the security aspect of it, and of course the corruption fight, which Mr. President was beckoned on by Nigerians, according to you, to come and fight for Nigerians. Please stay with us.
The due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in house like young nakama. They are like abiru in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background, and today we are here in TSTV, and that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
All right, welcome back from that short break. We are still dealing with elections, matters arising. We've tried discussing the matters that have arisen over time. We've looked at the CGN saga and, of course, other sub-matters under it, looking at from the angle of Falana, the Senate, and, of course, Dr. Kenneth Okonkwo's take on it, which he's been here in the studio with us. And before we went for a short break, he was talking about how Nigerians beckoned on Mr. President to come and rescue Nigerians, which has warranted some calls to come in, like, what kind of rescue is that? We are still in this kind of situation and all that. Now, the question I have for you is, assuming you're not a member of APC, let us go that way.
Good.
Assuming you're just a lawyer.
Right.
Okay, not even a lawyer. Assuming you're just an ordinary citizen.
Yes.
All right? That just have the right to, eat, breathe, your basic rights that you have. Now, how would you judge this government without sentiments?
All right. First of all, I'm always reluctant.
Based on economy.
Good. First of all, I'm always reluctant to answer hypothetical questions because I am APC.
Okay.
So it's not wise to make it an academic exercise. Let's make it real.
Is it academic?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He said,
okay.
If
paraventure.
I am not APC, that becomes academic exercise. Now, but let's do it this way.
Okay.
Tell me that person that was doing a real job before President Muhammad Buhari came in, adding value to society, that has lost his job.
How would you ascertain who?
Now, it's a rhetorical question.
Okay.
Why I'm saying this is that before President Muhammad Buhari came in, Nigeria has been sitting and spending corrupt money.
Okay.
80% of the time. It's like an economy based on consumption, not based on productivity.
Okay.
Everybody was simply sitting by, sharing oil money.
Mm-hmm.
Now that money is no longer flowing, and people are complaining that they are not working. Meanwhile, the government is positively empowering people who are adding value. Nigeria is almost 90-something% now homegrown in rice production. Tell me, if you are a rice grower, tell me whether you'll be saying you don't have a job. Now, Nigeria, as you know, in cinema, Nollywood, is raking in 500 of millions and billions of naira through cinema. Tell me how you would say, if you are such a person raking in such money, that you're not employed.
You have a call to call you.
Good afternoon. Good morning.
This good morning.
Yeah, I called earlier on, and your guest is saying that I have to pinpoint why I say this government is full of lies. Number one, we said Nigeria is out of recession, but every common Nigerian knows that Nigeria is not out of recession. It's just mere theories we're hearing. People still live from hand to mouth, struggling to feed, which was not the case in the past. Corruption, they said this government is fighting corruption. How are they fighting corruption? So then one basic example is the prosecution of government did not Babachir's case. He was caught, and then he was caught in the midst of he was caught in a corrupt practice, which the government refused to prosecute him. It's just lately that the president, because of the clamoring from the masses, people started clamoring about that man because he's gallivanting, he's busy walking around he's been seen in campaign, in APC campaigns, rallies and all that.
Who exactly are you talking about?
Babachir.
Okay.
Babachir, the former SGF of the Federation. If we say we are fighting corruption, let's fight it right. And then they said we're out of recession. A lot of companies folded in this regime. Is it news any longer that people have lost a lot of jobs in Nigeria? What are we talking about? Please, let's be truthful to ourselves. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thanks for calling back. And I just hope you just calm down. This is your energy is into call. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, would you react to this?
Good. First of all, what he has stated is stated facts. He has not stated that the party lied. The party is the first party in Nigeria that has come out by the statistics and say we are in recession. Now, before APC, PDP known high-level officers were telling the world that we were in recession, and yet the government could not allow the figures to reflect recession. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said so when she was a minister in PDP. Look, we are heading towards recession. Now, Daizani, when she was answering questions on the floor of the Senate, he said that NNPC is technically bankrupt. So the issue here is that when I talk about honesty, give it to APC. And then recession is a technical term. That's why even US, the most powerful economy, can go into recession. When your GDP for 3 consecutive times declines, they say you're in recession. So it's a technical term.
So are we in recession?
Good. No, we are out of recession because our GDP is growing.
Reflecting? Have that reflected on the ordinary citizen?
Good. That's what I'm saying. That the citizens should know when they hear recession or not. It's a technical term. So we are out of recession because our GDP has grown. consecutively for about 3 times.
You know, let me just use this word.
Good.
I
Now,
remember, hold
let's,
on. There was a time we went for this program at NOA,
Yes.
and we're talking to people about certain things. And I remember one of them just said, who GDP help?
Good.
In quotes, calm down. Now, I use that to, you know, reflect to you that most of these people don't even know what you're talking about, calling GDP. All they know is what affects them as a person. What affects them is all the concerns to them. Now, the caller is talking about how it's affecting him and how it's affecting his family or whoever that is around him. That the recession is telling so much on them. And that is why I'm asking this question. Forget about the GDP aspect of it, technical aspect of it. Are we out of recession? And if we are not out of recession, why are we still in recession?
Now, you are the ones that are using the word recession. And that is why I defined it. For you to know that in the previous regime, that they did not use the word recession does not mean people were not suffering.
Okay.
In this regime, that they use the word recession does not mean people are suffering.
Okay.
That's why I said from 1999, and why I use the word 1999 is not because things were not happening before then. I'm talking about when democracy set in.
Okay.
Because we're comparing likes with likes. I said the kind of suffering Nigerians went through in the 16 years of PDP was so much that in the Northeast, a terrorist group came out, and everybody has agreed that what fuels terrorism is poverty and ignorance.
Okay.
2009, in the heat of PDP leadership, in the middle of PDP leadership, the terrorists emerged. And they preferred to die to living because of the suffering that they are going through.
Okay.
Good.
Has that changed now?
Oh, drastically. 17 local governments were under their control. They were foisting their flags in a government that was sharing oil money, in a government that has no money to share. APC is earning 60% less than PDP earned when they were in power. Yet Boko Haram is not controlling any territory, not even Sambisa. They are now operating criminal tactics, hit soft target and run, which any other group does. Kidnappers do it, robbers do it, this and that. So they are effectively now a criminal gang, not an insurgent group. So when they say they have been technically defeated, that's why the word technically. They are no longer an insurgent group that occupies territories, hoists their flags, sings their national anthem, have their army, and have a place to attack. They are now criminal groups that hit and run and hit soft targets. All the military attacks they have done, they were repelled and they suffered heavy casualties. Before, our men in uniform were running away from Boko Haram. Today, Boko Haram are running away from our men in uniform.
But recently, yes. Sorry to cut this short.
Good.
Recently, we saw on the news that so many soldiers were killed by this same group, the Boko Haram group.
Good.
Now, if we say that the men in uniform we are running away prior to now, and right now they are the one fleeing from them,
yes.
Why do we keep getting such reports of so many soldiers being killed by the same insurgent group?
Well, it is like saying you're going to go to war and you won't have casualties. It's unfortunate, but I cannot, there's no silver bullet that will prevent your officers from suffering some casualties when they are in the midst of war.
So can we say the situation is still the same?
No, when these people were in power, when PDP was in power, our men were dying in thousands. Have you forgotten the Mutiny case, where they mutinied and refused to go and fight again? Because they say they are being killed in thousands and they don't have even weapons. They don't have even welfare because of corruption. And so you can imagine such a situation. We are not hearing such things again. And then come to Abuja. Since APC came to power, we've been going to night vigils in our churches. Nobody has cancelled any night vigil.
Okay.
When PDP was in power, like I rehearsed before, the police headquarters was bombed.
Okay.
United Nations headquarters was bombed.
Okay.
Banex Plaza was bombed. Nyanya was blown to smithereens. 88 persons blown to pieces here in Abuja.
All right.
It has not happened. Has security not improved? Now, Kidnappers, you knew what happened during PDP time. They live in mansions. They are billionaires. Today, they are living in cells and in jails.
All right, I have a signal to wrap up in 2 minutes. Before then, I want to read out some messages. I will probably just take two. I just beg for your forgiveness, those that have sent in messages. We are actually running behind time. Now, the first one said, yes, I stick with PDP because... okay, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to edit your sentences. There are things I won't read out here. Now, I stick with PDP because APC has failed us in their regards. I think that's what I will take from there. Thank you very much for sending your message. And I have someone saying all these people are the same thing. All they are all about is their personal interest. If you like, let it be YYY party that comes into to power. The person will eat for himself, for his family, and the situation will still remain the same. Thanks for sending your messages. Sorry for other people who reply via social media. Thank you very much, sir. Please, you just have to wrap up here.
Right.
And we just need your last words as the elections, as we are counting down to elections. Your last words to the viewers so we can wrap up.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari is the only person now that every geopolitical zone has something to gain when they vote him to power. One, Northwest has never produced any leader that did second term continuously. So President Muhammadu Buhari is going to afford the Northwest the opportunity to do a second term in Nigeria. All their leaders were either killed or removed from office before completing the second term. Now the Southeast has the opportunity of producing the next president by 2023. PDP desecrated the Southeast. Not even the grave of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was built. Nothing. We have an opportunity for infrastructure to be built and for us to produce the next president in 2023. Southwest has the opportunity to continue, and a lot North Central, the security situation is improving. Northeast, the security situation is improving. Every geopolitical zone has something to gain. Now, PDP said they are going to, the DG of PDP said they will talk about security, unity, and talk about the economy. Nothing on corruption.
Okay.
The same thing.
Okay.
All of them. Now, we will continue fighting corruption, we will continue building the economy, and we will continue securing Nigeria until a new Nigeria is born.
All right, thank you very much there. That was a good ad, and of course later we'll talk about that. Back to you, our viewers. Would just say the basic line is get your PVC ready and make sure that you have it handy, because you have the power in your hand. That is the sole power you have to make the positive change you want in Nigeria. Nigeria belongs to all of us. If you like, fly up and go everywhere. This is where we belong. So we must continue to fight collectively. It's a collective effort to make Nigeria a better place, so that we'll have a home that we can call our own. But most importantly, vote during elections and make sure that it is violence free. Peace is very paramount, as no country survives or thrives on violence. That's my goodbye word for you, and it's a closed down national discourse today. I still remain your host, Uche Uduma. Goodbye.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different.